back to the Pick Six Podcast. Your host, Timothy Claiborne here. And what I saw last night, I can't even believe what I saw last night. Now, this episode was going to be a basketball episode anyways. And it was supposed to come out last week. I just didn't end up doing it. Didn't feel the passion, the fire in me to record, so I just waited a week. Sorry about that, but I always want to give y'all the best content possible and be as enthusiastic as I can be, and devoted to giving the best shows possible and episodes. But what I saw last night, not only did the Los Angeles Clippers, the title favorite from at least 55 to 60% of the world and the media, not only blew a 3-1 lead, not only lost Game 5 up 16 in the second half, lost Game 6 up 19 in the second half, lost Game 7 up 7 in the third quarter. The Nuggets end up going up by as much as 20 on the title favorites that most people had winning the championship, the Los Angeles Clippers, with Kawhi Leonard and Paul George and Patrick Beverley and Lou Williams and Montrezl Harrell and Doc Rivers as the coach. They lost 104 to 89. They scored 33 points in the second half, 19 or 18 in the third, and 15 in the fourth. They started the fourth quarter, I believe, 0 for 13 from the field. Don't get me started on what Kawhi Leonard and Paul George did. I'll get to them in a second. The whole team melted down. Lou Williams, 3-time Sixth Man of the Year, was missing layups at the rim. He shot, I think, 4-27 from 3, which is 15% for the series, missing wide open layups. Felt like he didn't even want to be in the bubble. He didn't play good at all in the NBA restart. Obviously left for personal reasons, and then we know he went to Magic City, was caught, had to be quarantined, got the nickname Lemon Pepper Lou. Just struggled the entire series, couldn't buy a basket the entire series, and most of the NBA restart, the seeding games, and the first round against the Dallas Mavericks. Montrezl Harrell said, I believe a year ago in the offseason, that he was the modern day Dennis Rodman. Had 3 rebounds, couldn't defend anybody, and was getting shut down by Michael Porter Jr., who's not even a defensive stud like that. Patrick Beverley, this tough and tenacious defender, who is all talk. He'll give you 1,000 claps, 1,700 barks, and no points. He did have 11. Believe he had 5 rebounds and 6 assists. He had 1 more point than Paul George and 3 less than Kawhi Leonard. That should show you how bad those 2 stars performed. All this duo, Kawhi and Paul George, are the best wing duo since Jordan and Pippen. That is so disrespectful. They weren't even Dwayne Wade and LeBron James. I'd say those first 2 years in Miami in 2011, 2012, those 2 years were a better wing defender pair than Paul George and Kawhi Leonard were this year. I would even say Giannis, who plays the 4, but really he's a small forward, with Chris Middleton were a better wing pair as this year than Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. Klay Thompson and Kevin Durant and those KD Steph-led Warriors teams were better wing defenders than Kawhi Leonard and Paul George this year. They combined for 24 points. Shout out to Kobe. They were combined 2 of 18 in the second half from the 2 best players on the team. Oh, Kawhi Leonard, this cyborg, he doesn't feel nothing. Oh, Kawhi Leonard woke up for Game 7 and had a tremendous day. He had 14 points. He was 6 of 22 from the field, 2 of 7 from three-point range. He didn't even get to the free throw line and went scoreless in the fourth quarter. And a lot of people are, oh, it's only one time he went scoreless. LeBron had many of the. Oh, no. This is the second time he did it this series. In Game 2, he went scoreless when he had 13 points and was 4-17. He was 1 of 11 in the second half for the best player in the world. Paul George, playoff P. George Paul, as Skip Bayless calls him. Pandemic P, a lot of people have called him. Way off P, Nick Wright called him. He was terrible, hitting shots off the side of the backboard. Couldn't defend a lick. Paul George has never been good in the playoffs. Against the Cavaliers in Game 4 in 2017, when he got swept, he was 5 of 21 from the field. In 2018, against the Utah Jazz in Game 6, he was 2 of 16 from the field. So Paul George has never been clutch. I don't know where he got this moniker that he or this moxie or this confidence that he could call himself playoff P when he's never been that great. At least recently. He was better when he was going against the Miami Heat in 2013 and 2014 with the Indiana Pacers. When they took him to 7 in 2013 and 6 in 2014. He was way better then than he is now. And he's definitely developed into a better player. But for some reason, he's sorry in the playoffs. He is sorry in the playoffs. He trash. Straight garbage. And let me get to Doc Rivers. This is his third 3-1 lead he has blown as a head coach. One in each decade, from the 2000s to the 2010s, now to the 2020s decade. In 2003, with a prime Tracy McGrady who led the league in scoring in the first round against the Detroit Pistons, he blew a 3-1 lead. 12 years later, with a prime Chris Paul, Blake Griffin, and DeAndre Jordan, Lob City, the LA Clippers were up 3-1 against the Houston Rockets, who were the second seed that year. Blew a lead. Game 6, they let Josh Smith, Corey Brewer bring them back with James Harden on the bench. Then lose Game 7 at Houston. And now this one. Up 3-1 on the Nuggets with the so-called best player in the world. The deepest team in the league. The 2 best wing defenders since Pippen and Jordan. And he blows another 3-1 lead. When I watch game 5, 6, and 7, Doc Rivers looked like he didn't know how to make any adjustments at all. Zubac was getting killed by Nikola Jokic. Harrell can't defend anybody. I don't know why he was on there. If I were the Clippers, I would have went small. I would have went with Pat Beverly, Shamet, or Lou Williams, even though they weren't playing that well. Kawhi, Paul George, and JaMychal Green, so you could switch 1 through 5 and stop doubling that man. Because he was killing them with passes and rebounding. And actually was defending at the rim, especially in Game 7. And Jamal Murray came with them, 40 points in Game 7. Knocking down threes on Paul George, on Kawhi Leonard, on Patrick Beverly, who's not even that great of a defender. He just plays with energy. He's not that elite of a defender. Paul George is an okay defender. He's an okay defender. I feel like he's a better defender than Kawhi Leonard. Now, Kawhi Leonard's not the same defender he was when he was Defensive Player of the Year in 2015 and 2016, ladies and gentlemen. He is not. He is not that same type of defender because he has the offensive burden on his hands now. He already load manages. And everybody be like, LeBron doesn't play defense. LeBron never. No, LeBron used to be a lockdown defender. He was NBA All-First Team Defense 2009, 10, 11, 12, and 13. In 13, he came second in Defensive Player of the Year, which he should have won when Marc Gasol won it over him. And wasn't even on All-NBA First Team. Marc Gasol was not on that All-NBA First Team. But somehow he won Defensive Player of the Year. LeBron had to do everything offensively. He had to set up other guys. He had to rebound. He had to also score. So it took a lot of energy away for him to defend the way he used to be able to defend. He's put more effort in there this time when he was terrible last year. Put no effort in there. Also was hurt He was also hurt. But Kawhi Leonard's not that same defender anymore. And it's hard to be that same defender when you got to carry the offensive load. And everybody's like, but he had Paul George. He had he had Lou Williams. He had Montrezl Harrell, who was this year's six man of the year, excuse me. Both him and Lou Williams averaged 18 plus points per game. The reason why they weren't so good is because they haven't been there like that in the postseason. With the Raptors, they had Kyle Lowry, who didn't have too much playoff success. Went to one Eastern Conference Finals in 2016 against the Cavs. Won 2 games. Kyle Lowry's a dog. He's a leader. Kawhi Leonard's not a vocal leader. You want to talk about a dog? Kyle Lowry a dog because he'll go get you a bucket and defend you. Pat Beverly can't go get you a bucket like Kyle Lowry can. They had Van Fleet. They had Siakam, who didn't play that well this year as the number 1 guy, but is a good number 2. They had Norman Powell. They had Marc Gasol. They had Danny Green, who's now on the Lakers, with playoff experience. Great defender. They had guys. Kawhi Leonard didn't carry that team last year. And I'll get to that more about how we gave Kawhi too much credit for beating that Warriors team. But let me finish up with Doc. Doc also has 3 2 leads that he has blown. 2009, the Eastern Conference semifinals against the Magic. They end up losing Game 7 in that series. 2010 NBA Finals. Get wiped off the floor in Game 6 against the Lakers. Although Kendrick Perkins, who was a good defensive center, that was probably their best bet to be held rebound against Pau Gasol and Andrew Bynum of the Lakers, went out with a torn ACL. No excuse to lose that and Game 7. With Kobe Bryant shooting 4-15 from the field in that Game 7. In 2012 in the Eastern Conference Final against the Miami Heat. Up 3-2. Now, I don't fault him for Game 6 because LeBron James was a madman. It was the greatest performance LeBron James has ever had. And he's never had one closer to it. It was the most dominant performance LeBron James has ever had. Game 6 in Boston down 3-2 with his legacy and the Miami Heat Big 3 on the line. Just coming off a year where he choked against Dallas. 45, 15, and 5. 30 points in the first half. Goes on to win Game 7, and the rest is history because he wins in 5 against the Oklahoma City Thunder with a young Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, and a 6-man James Harden with a Serge Ibaka that was a dominant shot blocker at that time in his career. So Doc Rivers has been a guy who doesn't make a lot of in-game or game-to-game adjustments in the series and blows series leads all over the place. Underachieved with those LA Clippers. The first year he was there, fair enough, you got to the second round, you lose 4-2 to the Oklahoma City Thunder. That's fair with Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant was the MVP that year. But 2015, that year they blew it. Told you they blew the 3-1 lead to the Rockets in the second round. And then in the first round last year, I know Chris Paul or I believe Blake Griffin got hurt. Lost after being up 2-0 in 6 to the Portland Trailblazers. In 2017, lost in the first round to the Utah Jazz. In 2018, they didn't even make the playoff because Chris Paul asked for the trade. Last year, they played better as those underdogs, as the hunters and not the hunted. I don't know what it is with the Clippers in the second round and them not getting to the conference finals. They have never been to the conference finals in their franchise history. And they were supposed to win the championship, not just get to the conference finals. They were supposed to beat the Lakers. Kawhi Leonard is supposed to be the best player in the world. But he should have never been in that conversation. Because one, he's not better than Kevin Durant. Nor he's better than Steph Curry, in my opinion. First of all, we gave him way too much credit for beating a KD-less Warriors team. KD played 11 minutes in that series and was all in Game 5. And was 4-4 and was lighting Kawhi Leonard up before he went down with his torn Achilles. Klay Thompson didn't play in Game 3 because of a hamstring. Was just dominating as his moniker Game 6 Klay. And Game 6 had 30 halfway through the third quarter when the Warriors were up. Goes for a dunk attempt. Danny Green Chelsea tries to block him. Not a dirty play at all. Klay lands wrong, tears his ACL, and the Warriors lose to the Raptors later in that game in 6 games. If KD and Klay are healthy, the Warriors win that in 4. Or not in 4, in 5. I feel like the Raptors would have got hot in one of those games and they win in 5. Again, like I said, he had great teammates. Siakam was a great second man. Kyle Lowry was the vocal leader of that team. Kawhi may have led stats-wise. He may have led with the 41 points in the game-winning shot against the Philadelphia 76ers, which he traveled on that bounced 4 times. But he had a great supporting cast that had great chemistry and a great coach in Nick Nurse. And they went just as far as Kawhi did this year. Second round Game 7, and they didn't get blown off the floor in their Game 7. They also didn't blow a 3-1 lead. They were actually down 0-2, tied it up. Got blown out in Game 5 by, I believe, 30-something points. Kyle Lowry was clutch. Took double overtime in Game 6 to force a Game 7. Norman Powell was great in the double overtime as well. Just to get to a Game 7, which they lost by 4, I believe. And then second, like somebody like Colin Cowherd said, he beat Miami, LeBron, D-Wade, and Bosh in Miami. No, he didn't. He had Tim Duncan, Tony Parker, and Manu Ginobili carrying him. He was the 4th option. He averaged 12 points per game. He was a great defender then. He was an excellent, elite, the best defender in basketball then, in 2014. But he didn't lead them to that championship. He didn't beat Miami with a prime LeBron, who's still in his prime, but not as... Miami LeBron is his prime of the primest, even though he's still in his prime. D-Wade and Chris Bosh. He had Tim Duncan, Manu Ginobili, and Tony Parker, 3 future Hall of Famers, as the 1, 2, and 3. He just got that because they just picked the name out of the hat because it could have went to anybody on that Spurs team. Because they played great team basketball that year and that series. So, again, Kawhi Leonard, to me, was never the best player in the world. I don't know who put him in that conversation. People like Max Kellerman and Skip Bayless and Colin Cowherd. But my man Shannon Sharp and Nick Wright knew the throne still belongs to LeBron James. Kevin Durant is the second best player in the world, and Steph Curry arguably is the third best, with Kawhi coming in 4th. And if Anthony Davis balls the rest of this seasons in the Western Conference Finals and the NBA Finals, and I don't know, he might be the NBA Finals MVP, but if it's LeBron and AD right there with him, he'll be the 5th best player over Harden and Giannis after this year. Just got to see what he do. For the Clippers to blow this league, because all I heard all year was, first of all, it's going to be the Battle of L.A. Kawhi's town. Kawhi's coming for LeBron. The Clippers were built to beat the Lakers. They weren't going to beat the Lakers, but they built their team to beat the Lakers. They got Marcus Morris from the Knicks. They got Jermichael Green. They got the forwards, the wings to defend LeBron and AD. And they didn't even beat the Denver Nuggets. And the Denver Nuggets were the 3rd seed in the NBA this year in the playoffs for the West. No disrespect to them. But we felt like we were going to get a battle of LA, but I thought the Lakers were going to win in 6. I have the Lakers winning against the Nuggets in 5, maybe 6. Because I know LeBron is going to handle his business if he goes up 3-1 and not blow a lead. This Clipper team was frauds. They disrespected the regular season. Load managing all over the place. Turning it on and off. The Lakers came into the season and said, we want to be the best defensive team we can. I believe they were the 3rd best defensive team through the regular season, and they're the 3rd best defensive team through the playoffs. Been consistent all the way throughout the season. Were they great every night defensively? No, you don't get every night defense. You're not going to be great. But for 95% of the season, they were great defensively. And that was after Kawhi held out so long that the Lakers missed out on a lot of free agents. But Dwight showed up. Alex Caruso improved. Danny Green was off and on. KCP had a good year. Playoff Rondo is showing you that that's true. Anthony Davis was just as good as we, knew he was going to be with the Lakers. And LeBron James, the Wash King that people called him. He shouldn't be the MVP. That goes to Giannis. But he still showed you he was the best player in the world. Led the league in assists. Still averaged over 25 points per game. Got named today to his 16th All-NBA team. He was first team along with Anthony Davis, who should have been the defensive player of the year, not Giannis. Anthony Davis was the best defender in the NBA this year to me, not Giannis. I don't care about no advanced stats. Giannis didn't even guard Jimmy Butler. Stop it. I'm telling you, Anthony Davis going to be on Nikola Jokic. Is he going to shut him down? No, but he going to make him work. He going to take the challenge. And he going to get the best of him. He also can go put buckets on Nikola Jokic as well. But this team that was supposed to beat the Lakers, supposed to take over and beat this dynasty, lost in the second round. Don't ever put Kawhi Leonard's name in the same breath as LeBron James, let alone Kevin Durant, maybe Steph Curry. He's not that guy. He never was the number one option with all the pressure of the world on him to go and get it done. 14.6 of 22 is getting it done? I think not. If that was LeBron James, y'all would take those 3 championships away from like y'all already almost do. Y'all would take all his accomplishments and achievements away from him. Y'all would take his high school state titles away from him. Y'all would take his contracts away from him. Y'all would bring him out of the top 10. He wouldn't even be top 100 if he was 6 of 22 with 14 points in Game 7 and blew a 3-1 lead and went scoreless in the 4th. Not once but twice in the series. There would be no more LeBron. Y'all would petition to have his account deactivated. Because he's held to a standard so high because, this is the second coming of Jordan. And he is the best player in the world. Arguably the GOAT. He is my GOAT. He is the greatest basketball player I've seen. And that's no disrespect to Jordan because Jordan is right there. You can flip-flop him to me. But he's held to such a standard that if he misses one shot, people are like, oh, he's sorry. You got guys like Skip Bayless who likes to negate him over everything. And I'll get more into that, LeBron, after this quick break. And I'll be right back with you.
Can I stay with you?
What?
Can I stay with you, please?
Of course!
Really?
No.
Please! I don't want to go back there. You don't know what it's like to be considered a freak. Well, maybe you do, but that's why we gotta stick together. You gotta let me stay, please, please.
Okay. But one night only.
Thank you.
What do you... No.
This is gonna be fun. We can stay up late, swapping manly stories, and in the morning, I'm making waffles.
And welcome back to the podcast. And like I said, this segment here is about Well, this question, is LeBron held to a double standard? Hell yeah, he is. This man, LeBron James, I mean, he can do no right for a lot of people. Now, we obviously know there's trolls on the internet and people who just want to say things to aggravate you. You got to know the difference. But there's people, so-called analysts like Skip Bayless, Rob Parker, people like that, Doug Goblet, and those LeBron hater accounts that like to just downplay everything LeBron has ever done. Now, there's also LeBron superfans, aka Bronsexuals, that take it too far. If you want to call me a Bronsexual, I guess I am, but I do get on LeBron for his games that he didn't perform in. Even in mid-game, when I'm watching a game and LeBron not driving to the basket when he should, and then he drive later and get there with ease, I get mad because I be like, you can do that every single time. Or when he misses his free throws, I get frustrated. I go on and I get on LeBron. I don't act like he's perfect. Jordan fans act like Jordan only played 6 years and never missed a shot, when that's definitely not the case. But back to LeBron and this double standard. Yes, he's held to a double standard. I saw all day in comments on different videos and different posts on Instagram and Twitter and all of these things. A lot of people always said, why isn't Kawhi Leonard held to the same standard as LeBron James? Or Kawhi Leonard should be held to the same standard as LeBron James. And people were like, why should he when Kawhi Leonard never called himself the GOAT or the greatest ever? Kawhi Leonard was considered the best player in the world, better than LeBron James. So if you considered, and a lot of you considered him the best player in the world over LeBron James, and he shouldn't be held to the same standard because LeBron James said he was, the GOAT, or called himself the chosen one or the king, which he was, and he lived up to majority of that hype. Not ring-wise yet, but he gonna come for those rings. He about to get his 4th. To me, that makes no sense for you to say that. You said Kawhi Leonard was better than LeBron James. He should be held to a higher standard then. A lot of y'all said Kawhi would be top 5 and pass LeBron all the time if he won a ring this year. Yet, because he lost and choked, he shouldn't be held to the same standard as LeBron because he hasn't got there quite yet. But y'all were saying all year that he was better than LeBron. It doesn't make any sense. It's got to make sense. You're backtracking. You don't want to give LeBron his credit that he got to the conference finals by just playing basketball, while Kawhi and the Clippers were worried about the Lakers instead of worrying about the Nuggets. And if the refs didn't cheat, they probably would have lost in the first round to the Dallas Mavericks. You don't want to give LeBron no credit at all. Every time LeBron has a bad game, y'all act like no other player had a bad game, especially in the finals. Everybody like to bring up LeBron in 2011 against the Mavericks because he did choke. But y'all act like Larry Bird never did that. Larry Bird in his first finals had an 8-point game, another 8-point game, and a 12-point game in 3 straight games. The great Larry Bird. The greatest white player in the history of basketball. Larry Bird. Magic Johnson, to me, the 4th greatest player ever and the greatest point guard ever, dribbled out the clock in the 1984 NBA Finals and turned into Tragic Johnson. That's in the finals. Isaiah Thomas, you can debate where he is, the original with the bad boy Pistons. You can debate where he is in point guard ranking, 3rd or 4th all time probably. In the 1987 Eastern Conference Finals, Game 5 with the series tied 2-2, his team is up. All he has to do is pass it in, allows Larry Bird to steal the ball and lay it in under his own basket. They lose that game. End up losing in 6. And the Lakers won the championship over the Celtics that year, but the Pistons were supposed to get there that year. Kobe Bryant in the '04 NBA Finals shot them out of the series against Detroit. So this notion, obviously Steph Curry in 2016, but I don't have to keep. I prove my point. Everybody but Jordan, and you can say the years before against the Pistons when he was struggling to get there, I'll put that in there, has had their moments where they have come up short. But it's magnified with LeBron for some reason. And this was way before 2016, and we found out, I think earlier this year or maybe late 2019, on his show, the I don't know what his show is called, but whatever, he said that play, that block made him the greatest, or maybe the comeback overall, 3-1 comeback against the Warriors in 2016 made him the greatest player ever. He felt, in his opinion. This is way before he said that people magnified that Dallas series like none of that other stuff in history never happened. If LeBron James had an 8-point, and 12-point game and won that series, y'all would take that ring away from him. But we don't take that ring away from Larry Bird. And don't say because Larry was young. He was 24 years old, 2 years younger than what LeBron was in his series with Miami. 2 years older than what LeBron was his first finals he went to against the Spurs in 2007 with that sorry Cavs team. Kawhi Leonard didn't show up. We should hold him to the same standard as LeBron James, and we should start downplaying, and we should start holding those other stars, former stars, performances-wise, right there with LeBron when he choked against Dallas. I'm tired of LeBron choking against Dallas, the greatest choke. Everybody has come up. Magic Johnson dribbled the clock out. The greatest point guard ever just dribbled and then didn't even get a shot off. Acting like J.R. Smith. Come on now. Another thing that makes me mad with people when they critique LeBron. He's the only person in the NBA that's not allowed to have teammates. In a team sport that has 15 people on the roster, 5 people on the court at the time, he's not allowed to have teammates. When Kyrie made the shot in 2016 in Game 7. When Ray Allen made the shot in 2013 in Game 6. When he passes off at the last shot to a wide open teammate. They're in the NBA too. They get paid to make shots. Oh, he don't want the clutch shots. Oh, he don't want the moment. He feel like he's not built for this moment. Has more playoff game winner buzzer beaters than Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant combined. Had 2 in a 1 week span in 2018. Game 5 against the Pacers and Game 3 against the Raptors. And I can name the other ones. Game 4, 2015, second round against the Bulls, down 2-1 in the series. Ties the series up. They win in 6. Game 1, 2013, Eastern Conference Final against the Pacers. End up winning that in 7. So this notion that LeBron James is not clutch, he actually takes more shots in the final 10 to 5 seconds than Michael Jordan has and Kobe Bryant has. And those two are dogs and killers. Those two have the mindset to go take and make clutch shots. Kobe not as efficient as you would think, but he was still clutch, and we know Jordan was the clutches of the clutches. But LeBron is right there with them when it comes to clutch. So don't say he's not clutch. He just wants to make the right basketball play. And more times than not, he makes the right basketball play. His teammates don't always make it. Kyle Korver in Game 4. Or Game 3, excuse me, when LeBron passed it out. Kyle Korver got to make that shot. Kyle Korver's, I think, has made the third or fourth most threes in NBA history. Come on, Kyle Korver can make that shot. John Paxson made a shot from Michael Jordan in the 1993 NBA Finals. Game 6. Jordan got in the backcourt against a 6'2" guy. I don't know who it was. Passed it to Pippen. Pippen passed it to Grant, and I believe Grant passed it out to Paxton, Paxton, who made the shot. Bulls won the championship. Michael Jordan wasn't even involved in that play with a 6'2" guy on him. If Michael Jordan is that man, he takes that shot. Now, we know he did it in 98 when he pushed off. He'll take the shot. That's why I know he'll do it. Did it against Craig Elo. Against the Cavaliers. 1997, Steve Kerr made a shot, I believe, in Game 6 of the finals to win that championship. Jordan passed the ball. He made the right basketball play that LeBron gets criticized for making. They said Jordan double teamed. LeBron drives to the basket. Two guys come. Isn't that a double team? He finds the open guy. Robert Horry won a Game 4 in 2002 against the Kings for the Lakers, Shaq and Kobe. And then won Game 5 for the Spurs in 2005 in the finals. That series was tied up 2-2. Spurs end up winning that series. And then the Lakers end up winning the 2002 against the Kings under controversial circumstances in Game 6. But they still won and end up winning the championship. You can have other people make plays for your stars or make shots for your stars. It's a team sport. What the hell are the other four guys on the court if one person got to do every damn thing? It makes no sense to me. It makes no sense to me. What are the other four guys on the court for if one person has to do everything? And then the one that probably bothers me the most. LeBron James, people post about LeBron James, all his great stuff, whatever it may be, and everybody's like he's 3-6. First of all, he doesn't even have the most finals losses. That is Jerry West, who is 1-8 in the finals. And he's the NBA logo. He's only 1-8 in the NBA Finals. Yet we criticize LeBron for 3-6. He won 3 titles. Now y'all try to take every single title away from him. 2012, that Young Thunder team. That Young Thunder team beat Kobe Bryant 4-1. That Young Thunder team down 2-0 against the Spurs in the Western Conference Finals that same year. Win 4 straight. But because it's LeBron James, they're young now. 2013, Ray Allen saved his legacy. Well, look, I'm going to get to why 3-6. It needs to be put in context, is what I'm saying. It needs to be put in context about what happened in that series. Because I was just about to tell you, and I'll end up telling you twice. I'm going to tell you why 3-6 is more than what it seems. But all I see is 3-6. He won 3 times. It's not like he went 0 for 9. If he went 0 for 9, I understand that. He won 3 titles. So now we're mocking a guy, laughing at a guy, criticizing the guy for winning 3 titles. Yeah, he lost 6. He won 3. If winning 3 is bad, then I guess AI, which is Allen Iverson, Charles Barkley, Karl Malone, Patrick Ewing, those greats must be miserable because they didn't win a damn thing. But we criticizing the guy for winning 3 titles. Come on now. It's got to make sense. Now let's start with these NBA Finals for LeBron James. 2007. He carried a starting lineup of Larry Hughes, Sasha Pavlovich, Drew Gooden, and Zydrunas Ilgauskas to the finals. Down 0-2 in the 2007 Eastern Conference Finals. Let's backtrack before we talk about that finals. To the Detroit Pistons. They were the reigning 4-time Eastern Conference, or been to the Eastern Conference 4 times. There have been 5 times that year. They lost to Miami the year before. But They were just this veteran team. Down 0-2, wins the next two games. LeBron. Game 5. The 48-point special in Detroit. Series tied 2-0. Scores 25 straight points for the Cavaliers. 29 of the last 30 points for that sorry team that he carried to the final. They ended up winning in 6 after they won Game 5. Was making clutch shot after clutch shot. Lo and behold, Skip Bayless criticized him for missing, I think, a jumper at the end of one overtime, regulation, and another jumper at the end of the first overtime. They ended up going to 2 overtimes. LeBron was still making clutch baskets. This man scored 25 straight points for one team. And 29 of the last 30. That's how sorry that team was. Management didn't put no type of help around this guy. Gets to the finals. He did get swept. But he was going up against prime Tim Duncan, Manu Ginobili, and Tony Parker. A Spurs team that was the second best in the league that year behind the Dallas Mavericks, who lost in the first round that year. So that lineup there, I don't even think half of y'all know who Larry Hughes is, Sasha Pavlovich, Drew Gooden, or Zydrunas Ilgauskas is. Larry Hughes didn't even play in games 3 or 4. He was injured. Daniel Gibson, a.k.a. Boobie Gibson, started game 3 and 4. So he didn't. His second best player that they signed that they thought was going to be really good for LeBron didn't even play in 2 of the 4 games. And was injured most of the season. Wasting money on that man. 2011, we know it. He choked. I will tell you, he choked 8 points in game 4. It's unacceptable. Averaged 17 points per game, and I got outplayed by Jason Terry. Yes, he did. That was LeBron's true choke job. That's when he really choked. He choked in that series. I will tell you, he choked in that series. Don't give me 2009 when it was supposed to be LeBron and Kobe in the finals. He didn't choke in that series. He averaged 38, 9, and 9 in that series. His guys couldn't make a shot for nothing in that series. Delonte West, Daniel Gibson, or no, Mo Williams, Delonte West, whoever else they had shooting, I don't even know who it was, but Dwight Howard performed. That was prime Dwight Howard, the first of his 3 Defensive Player of the Year awards. (2010) second round against Boston, up 2-0. Just wasn't the same, I believe, after game 1. Or no, tied or up 2-1, Wasn't the same after game 4. Fair enough. But 2011 was his true choke job. It was. I'll give you that. It was his true choke job. Was unacceptable. If he plays anything like we know LeBron can play, they win that series in 5, maybe 6. Because all they had was Dirk, Jason Terry, and an older Jason Kidd. 2012. He comes back and redeems himself. I already talked about the Game 6 in Boston in 2012 when he dropped 45-15 and 5 down 3-1. Or 3-2, in the Eastern Conference Finals. After he loses Game 1, he gentleman sweeps Kevin Durant, who was the league's leading scorer, Russell Westbrook, who had a career year shooting percentage-wise and points per game-wise up to that point, and a 6th man of the year in James Harden, and a shot blocker in Serge Ibaka, who led the league in block that year. Don't tell me that team was young when they were down 2-0 against the Spurs the last series. That same Spurs team that had a 20-game win streak, including sweeping the first 2 rounds of the playoffs, after coming out of the regular season into the playoffs with a winning streak, sweeps the first 2 rounds of the playoff against the Jazz and the Clippers, win the first 2 against the Thunder, and then they proceed to lose 4 straight. Don't tell me that was a young Thunder team. Because if that was a young Thunder team, they would have got swept too. That was a good Thunder team. That was a great Thunder team. LeBron James, first title. Finals MVP, had a triple-double in the clinching Game 5 and outplayed Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant did average 30, did shoot well, but his points, he didn't get buckets when it mattered most. He didn't get buckets when it mattered most, and that's what we talk about. We talk about when do you score your points, and how do you score them, and how much of an impact do they have. And his points didn't have the impact in a lot of close games. Games 1, the Thunder kind of ran away with it, but games 2, 3, and 4 were close. Game 5 was a blowout. Game 1, it was kind of close, but the Thunder pulled away. But 2, 3, and 4, with the series tied, going back, or you're up 1-0 game 2, tied in game 3, and then down 2-1, he didn't perform. I'm sorry, Kevin Durant just didn't perform then. 2013 won his second title. Was the league MVP. Should have been unanimous MVP and Defensive Player of the Year. Led the Heat to the best record in the NBA, 66-16. Had a 28-game win streak, I believe. Or 27, whichever one it was. Again, second title, Finals MVP. Had a triple-double in Game 6. The Ray Allen game time 3 with 5 seconds remaining in regulation. Everybody, the one that says save LeBron's legacy, saved his bacon, whatever you want to say. The Heat were down 10 going into the fourth. LeBron scored 16 points and assisted on 6 other points, 3 other baskets. He accounted for 22 of the 30 points they scored in the fourth quarter. If he doesn't go off like that, that Ray Allen shot is irrelevant. It's irrelevant. And also, teammates are supposed to make shots. Come on, now he didn't miss the 3 before, but teammates are supposed to make the shots. Then in Game 7, had 37 points in the dagger jump shot over a young Kawhi Leonard with 27.9 seconds left to put him up by 4. Don't tell me this man not clutch. 2014, everybody says he got blown off the floor. Got shut down by Kawhi Leonard. The reason why Kawhi Leonard won that MVP is because he shut down LeBron. LeBron averaged 28.2 points per game, 7.8 rebounds per game, 4 assists per game, and shot 57% from the field, 51% from 3, and 79% from the free throw line. So it's not the reason why they lost. Kawhi Leonard's defense on LeBron was, I guess, great. But that wasn't the reason why they lost, because the Spurs played great basketball. LeBron James came. I told you he averaged 28 points on 57% from the field, 51% from 3. It was LeBron's 2 other members of the Big 3 not showing up. Dwayne Wade, 15.2 points per game, 3.8 rebounds, 2.6 assists, and shot 43% from the field, 33% from the 3-point line, 69% from the free throw line. And Chris Bosh, 14 points, 5.2 rebounds as a big man, 6'10", 5.2 rebounds. LeBron almost averaged 3 more rebounds than Chris Bosh. Had an assist per game. Averaged 1 assist per game. Shot 54% from the field. He shot pretty well. 38% from the 3-point line. 81% from the free throw line. But 15 points and 14 points for your second and third best player are not going to do it. They combine to average 2 more points than what LeBron averaged for himself. Rebounding wise, they averaged as many rebounds as LeBron did. And don't even put their assists together, because it doesn't even get to what LeBron got for assists. Half an assist less. Come on now. His 2 best players didn't show up. Ray Allen was old. That's why that was his last series. He didn't show up. Nobody showed up but LeBron James. And the Spurs just played great team basketball. Destroying, picking apart their defense. Don't put that on LeBron. So then he leaves Miami and goes to Cleveland. And faces the 67-win Warriors with the first year Steph won the MVP. Warriors were the best offensive and defensive rated team all year long. Started 16-0, I believe, that season. He was without Kyrie Irving, who went out in Game 1 of overtime in Game 1, and Kevin Love, who was injured in Game 3 in the first round series against Boston. Or that might have been Game 4. He averaged 35.8 points per game, 13.3 rebounds per game, 8.8 assists per game. He only shot 39% from the field, 31% from three, and 68% from the free throw line, but he played 45.7 minutes of a possible 48 total minutes. He took the 67-15 Warriors to 6 games with Matthew Dellavedova as his second best player. And Andre Iguodala won the Finals MVP for holding him 35, 13, and 8. It was the shooting percentages that got him that. Steph should have won that Finals MVP. Steph averaged, I believe, 25 points per game, 6 assists, shot 45% from 3, whatever it may be. I don't have his exact statistics, but Steph should have been the Finals MVP of 2015. Andre Iguodala definitely shouldn't have got that for locking somebody down for 35, 13, and 8, but okay. Then we get to 2016. Down 3-1 against a 73-9 Warriors team with the first ever and only unanimous MVP in Steph Curry, who made 402 threes. They beat the Cavs on Christmas Day and blew them out in January on MLK Day. I mean, beat the brakes off the Cavaliers. They were the heavy favorites going into the playoffs that year. They were down 3-1 against the Oklahoma City Thunder. Came back. Won the first 2 games. Won game 2 by 33 points. The Cavaliers come back in game 3. Win by 30. The Cavaliers lose game 4. LeBron only 25 points. Didn't look good. Kyrie Irving was the best player on the court for the Cavaliers. Obviously, Steph Curry and the Warriors were the better team that night. Everybody was like, oh no, it's over for LeBron. He can't give you 40-point performances anymore. He can't take over games anymore. He's old. The Cavaliers are done. This is Steph's time. He's the best player in the world. The Warriors are about to be the dynasty, the greatest single regular season, greatest team ever. And LeBron James put on 3 historic performances. Kyrie Irving came with them too. In games 5, 6, and 7. First of all, for that series, he led both teams in everything. In points, rebounds, assists, blocks, and steals. He averaged 29.7 points per game, 11.3 rebounds per game, 8.9 assists per game, 2.3 blocks per game, 2.6 steals per game. He shot 49% from the field, 37% from 3, 72% from the free throw line, and 41.7 minutes per game. Now let's get to games 5, 6, and 7. Kyrie Irving, 41 points on 70% shooting, shot 17 of 24 from the field. He came and balled. But it was, what would LeBron do? He had 41. First teammates to have 40 points a piece in a finals game. He had 41, 16 rebounds, 7 assists, 3 steals, 3 blocks, shot 16 of 30 from the field, 4 of 8 from downtown, and 5 of 8 from the free throw line. In game 6, because the excuse of, Draymond Green was suspended. He won't do this on Draymond. No, when Draymond come back, he gonna stop all of that. When Draymond come back, LeBron not gonna be able to do nothing. He gonna get like 12 points. The King, GOAT James, the best basketball player in 2016 and still now, and has been the best player in the world for a decade, had 41 points, 8 rebounds, 11 assists, 3 blocks, 4 steals. One of those 3 blocks was on Draymond Green. The other was on Steph Curry. When he talked some trash to him, I don't know what he said. Wish I knew what he said. But he shot 16 of 27 from the field, 3 of 6 from downtown, 6 of 8 from the free throw line. Back-to-back 41 points game. Then in game 7, a triple-double. Only 1 of 3 people to have a triple-double in game 7 of the NBA Finals. The other 2, the logo Jerry West, 1969, and James Worthy. Big game James. Jerry West and James Worthy. He had 27 points, 11 rebounds, 11 assists, 3 blocks, 1 which is the greatest defensive play in the history of basketball, and the greatest play in postseason history, 3 steals, He only shot 9 of 24 from the field and 1 of 5 from 3. But he did hit 8 of his 10 free throws and made the critical free throw to put him up by 4 late in that game. Now, I know Kyrie Irving, he had hit the big time 3 with 51 seconds left to put him up 92-89. And he had 26 in that game 7. But that 3 probably doesn't come and happen unless LeBron James with the block with 151 left on Andre Iguodala. To me, that's probably the greatest championship anybody has ever won in 2016. Down 3-1 against the 73-9 team. Unanimous MVP. A team that hasn't lost 3 straight games. Or 2 straight all year. More than 2 straight all year. Lose 3 straight and 2 at home. And you go and beat them. In dominant fashion. Leading everybody and everything. That's the greatest championship ever. Now, 2017. He faces the Warriors again. But this time they had to go get Kevin Durant, the second best player in the world. Because they didn't have no answer for LeBron. And yeah, he lost 4-1. But he was the first player in NBA history to average a triple-double in the NBA Finals when he averaged 33 points, 33.6 points per game, 12 rebounds, 10 assists per game, 1.4 steals, 1 block a game, shot 56% from the field, 38 from 3, 64 from the free throw line, and 42.4 minutes per game. Game 3, everybody says the shot that Kevin Durant hit in his face that made him the best player in the world. Not true. He did make a clutch shot. But they shouldn't even been in that situation of the Warriors being that close. They lost 118-113. LeBron had 39 points, 11 rebounds, 8 assists, 15-27 from the field, 4-9 from downtown, 5-6 from the free throw line in 46 minutes. He played all but 2 minutes, and it really was 46 minutes and like 40 seconds. So he played all but a minute and 20 seconds, give or take. And he was +7, which means he outscored that great Warriors team with Steph, Clay, and KD by 7 when he was on the court. The 1 minute and 20 seconds, give or take, that he sat, they got outscored by 10 points. In a minute and 20 seconds, they got outscored by 10 points when the man sat. Don't say that man choked. When he couldn't even take a damn rest because his team couldn't make a shot or stop anybody. Game 4, they win 137-116. Kyrie Irving led the way with 40 points. LeBron had another triple-double, 31 points, 10 rebounds, 11 assists, shot 11 of 22 from the field, 3 of 8 from downtown, 6 of 10 from the free throw line in 41 minutes. The Cavs also made an NBA record 24 threes. Then they lose in Game 5, 129-120. LeBron showed up, 41 points, 13 rebounds, 8 assists, 19 of 30 from the field, 2 of 5 from downtown, only 1 of 4 from the free throw line, but he played 46 more minutes. Kevin Love, 0 points at half, 6 total points in the game. Kyrie Irving, 0 points in the last 15 minutes of the game, with the Cavs entering the fourth down 93-98. Kyrie Irving was 0-6 in the fourth with a turnover. Don't say that man choked. The 2 other members of the Big Three yet again didn't show up. 6 points, Kevin Love? 6 points, nothing at half. Iman Shumpert was looking like Paul George before Paul George, hitting shots off the side of the backboard. Come on now. 2018, no Kyrie. He wanted to go to Boston. Now he's in Brooklyn. LeBron averaged 34 points per game, 8.5 rebounds per game, 10 assists per game, 1.3 steals per game, a block per game, shot 52% from the field, 33% from the three-point line, 84% from the free throw line, and 44.7 minutes per game. And the series was going to end in probably 5. Because LeBron should have won game one. He had the greatest final performance I ever seen when he had 51 points, 8 rebounds, 8 assists, and he shot 19 of 32 from the field. He also had a steal on the block, shot 3 of 7 from 3, 10 of 11 from the free throw line. He played 48 of the 53 minutes as a game win in overtime. They lost 124 to 114. And he lost because not just J.R. Smith not knowing time and score, not just George Hill missing the free throw, not just Kevin Love fouling Steph Curry to put Golden State up 107-106 after a free throw with 23.5 seconds left. Let me explain how it went down. First, LeBron had an and-one with 50.8 seconds left. That put Cleveland up 104-102. Then KD drives in. LeBron tries to come in for a charge. The block charge call blunder with 36.4 seconds left. KD ended up getting 2 free throws. LeBron goes back and gets a layup over Draymond Green at double clutch. The Warriors come back after that. Again, I said Kevin Love fouled Steph Curry on a layup that put Golden State up 107-106 after a free throw with 23.5 seconds left. And then George Hill goes to LeBron makes the right play. George Hill was open for a wide open layup. Even though Steph Curry was on him and LeBron could have shot over him. George Hill had a wide open layup. Klay Thompson just fouled him on his way to put the shot up. Wide open layup. Which would you rather take, a LeBron 3 or a wide open layup from an NBA player? He was wide open. Go watch the tape. 80% for the year. 4.7 seconds left. George Hill makes the first. Misses the second. Kevin Durant doesn't box out J.R. Smith. J.R. Smith doesn't know the time and score. Should have put the shot up. The LeBron meme with his hands out and his face frustrated, like, why didn't you put up the damn shot? Go to overtime, and that was it. The Cavs, they were done. They literally were done after that. End up getting swept. LeBron leaves Cleveland, goes to L.A. But what I just explained to you, if you didn't understand, was that when you put it in context, you understand that he only choked one time. He was only the favorites in 2 of his series. 2011 against Dallas when he choked, and 2013, which he won. Against the Warriors in 2015, 16, 17, and 18, 2007, and 2012 against those young Oklahoma City Thunder. Yes, the Thunder were the favorites in 2012. He was the underdog in those series I just told you about. He was 1-1 when he was the favorite. And 2-5 when he wasn't. And he played great Warriors team, a 67-win Warriors team. Probably would have won that series had Kyrie Irving even if he didn't even have Kevin Love. Had Kyrie Irving even played, they probably would have won that series. Then face the 73-9 Warriors, beat that team. They add Kevin Durant. What you gonna do with that? They were already 73-9. Didn't have to face him yet again without Kyrie Irving. Kevin Love was there. He played okay. But that was without Kyrie Irving, your second best player. And everybody be like, why does he got to play with stars? Magic played with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He played with Jamal Wilkes, Byron Scott. James Worthy was a Finals MVP in 1988. Magic Johnson and Kareem were on that team. Larry Bird played with Kevin McHale, Robert Parrish, and Bill Walton off the bench. And Dennis Johnson. Jordan was 1-9 in the playoffs before Scottie Pippen got there. Got swept by the Celtics in 1986 and 1987 and 1990 and 1985. Lost because first round series were the best of 5 then. Not the best of 7, but the best of 5. Lost 1-3 against the Milwaukee Bucks. So he was 1-9 in the playoffs. He had Horace Grant and Tony Kukoc. He had Dennis Rodman, Ron Harper, John Paxson, Steve Kerr, Shaq and Kobe. They had their great players. They had Glenn Rice and Robert Horry and Horace Grant and Ron Harper. Tim Duncan had Manu Ginobili and Tony Parker and Bruce Bowen, a great defender, and then Kawhi Leonard. Kobe Bryant also had Pau Gasol and Ron Artest, now Metta World Peace, and now something else. He didn't change his name again. KD, he went to the Warriors. So this notion that stars never played and LeBron was the only person to create super team. What about Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett, and Ray Allen? And they were like, GMs did that. Still, that was still a big three, and they only won one title. And they go around acting like they won 5 and 6. At least KG and Paul Pierce. Ray Allen keeps to himself like he should. He won 2. One with Miami in 2013. Those Celtics, that dynasty when Bill Russell won 8 straight, he was playing with like 5 and 6, 7 Hall of Famers. Bob Cousy, John Havlicek, Tommy Hyson, K.C. Jones. I mean, come on now. Wilt Chamberlain played with Jerry West and Elgin Baylor. Now the year they won, Elgin Baylor had retired earlier that year, but he still played. Those two guys played together. Kareem played with Oscar Robertson. Kareem never won without a great point guard. Excuse me. Because when he didn't have Oscar Robertson, he missed the playoffs. Excuse me, I'm rushing my words. He missed the playoffs right in the middle. Smack dab in the middle of his prime when he averaged 36 and 15 and won the MVP. If LeBron missed the playoffs, say because it's later in his years, he missed the last year. But had he missed it, let's say he misses the playoff. Miami misses the playoffs in 2011. We would ban LeBron James from playing basketball. He would not be allowed to pick up another basketball. But because, it's Kareem, he got 6 titles, 6 MVPs, 2 finals MVPs. We let that slide. It ain't no big deal. But if LeBron do that, it's the end of the world. He can't do anything. And it's got to stop. We're going to take another break. And I'm going to come back with you. I'm going to come back to you with my top 5 NBA finals since the year 2000. And welcome back to the Pick Six Podcast. No shout out this week. Just couldn't find anybody. Should have one definitely next week for next week's episode. But let me get right to it. The top 5 NBA Finals since 2000. Number 5, 2005 NBA Finals. The San Antonio Spurs beat the Detroit Pistons 4-3. Tim Duncan was the MVP. Robert Horry, I told you earlier, hit the game-winning 3 with 5.9 seconds left in Game 5 with the series tied 2-2. The Spurs went on to win that series in 7 games. Number 4, the 2011 NBA Finals. Dallas Mavericks beat the Miami Heat 4-2. Dirk Nowitzki was the Finals MVP. Obviously, we know LeBron choked in the Finals with an 8-point game in Game 4. The Mavs came back. Also, importantly, the Mavs came back down 1-0 in the series, 15 points to win Game 2 and tie the series. That's important because if Miami wins that game, and we're going back to Dallas, and we say that everything stays the same, Miami won Game 3. They might go up 3-0. We just don't know. LeBron's demeanor might be better being up 2-0 than just being tied 1-1. We don't know then. But yes, that's number 4. And after I go through my list, I'll explain to you, why each series is at, what number. Number 3, 2010 NBA Finals. Los Angeles Lakers beat the Boston Celtics 4-3. Kobe Bryant was the Finals MVP, his last NBA championship, and last Finals MVP for the late great Kobe Bryant. Also, in Game 2, Ray Allen made an NBA record 8 3-pointers, and the Celtics won Game 2 to tie the series. Number 2, 2013 NBA Finals. Miami Heat beat the San Antonio Spurs 4-3. LeBron James was the Finals MVP. Danny Green had a then NBA record 23 made 3-pointers in that series. He was shooting lights out. Especially Game 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I think 5, 6, and 7 he started to cool off. I know Game 6 and 7 he did. But I think the 1 through 5 he was just lining it up. Coming baseline and nobody covering him and just getting wide open threes from the corner. Danny Green was killing them. Also, it was the Spurs' first and only loss in the NBA Finals. They're 5-1 in the NBA Finals. They end up getting revenge in 2014. And number 1, you should know, 2016 NBA Finals. Cleveland Cavaliers beat the Golden State Warriors 4-2. LeBron James, the Finals MVP. Cleveland, the first team to come back 3-1, down 3-1 in the NBA Finals ever. Also, a note on that, the Warriors had not lost 3 games in a row since 2014. And both teams heading into Game 7 had a grand total of 110 points each. And Game 7 was the only series, or the only game in the series not to be decided by double digits. The Cavs won 92-89, or 93-89, excuse me. And the reason why I have my top 3 there, notice they're all Game 7s. When you have a 7-game series, whether a team comes back 3-1 or whatever it may be, at some point a team's going to be down 3-2 for a Game 7 to happen. Whatever the case may be, you're in a good series. Most 7-game series are good series, even if there are some playoff games or some blowouts in between. And as good as, to me, 2016 is just, it's the most important title of the decade. And probably the most important title since 2000. Just for the city of Cleveland, LeBron James legacy. And all of that. And down 3-1 at 73-9 Warriors. All that stuff. And it has some exciting moments. Obviously, the block. The Kyrie Irving 3. LeBron blocking Steph Curry in Game 6. Steph Curry's ejection in Game 6. Draymond Green going off in Game 2 and the Cavs losing by 33 points. It had those moments. 2013 probably had more amazing moments than even 2016. But it just wasn't as important, in my opinion. Because 2013, even though the Spurs are not the flashiest organization, you had obviously the LeBron, the Ray Allen 3, but you had the LeBron block on Thiago's splitter. You had the Tony Parker clutch game-stealing shot in Game 1 against the Heat over LeBron and Mario Chalmers. You had Danny Green going off for threes and Gary Neal in Game 3 of the finals. Dwayne Wade with a 32-point throwback performance in Game 4. Obviously, we know how good the fourth quarter of Game 6 was. LeBron was just bringing it back. And Game 7 was just as good. The Tim Duncan missed runner across the lane that he normally makes, showing frustration by hitting the floor right before Miami takes a timeout to set up a play. 2010. I told you the Ray Allen 8 3-pointers in Game 2. Derek Fisher with the clutch layup and one layup in Game 3 to seal that deal, and the Lakers to go up 2-1 in that series, getting an important road win in Game 3 with the series tied 1-1. Game 4, Nate Robinson and Glenn Davis coming off the bench and dominating for the Celtics. Kobe Bryant, 38 points. 17 in the fourth, bringing them back even though they lost Game 5. And Game 5 might have been when Glenn Davis and Nate Robinson had those games. Either Game 5 or Game 4. Somebody correct me on that. Also, Tony Allen blocking Pau Gasol. You had, obviously, Game 7. I'm about to get to Game 7. The Kobe Bryant, he made a deep three. And it was the first bang Mike Breen had called. Pause, but it's just his catchphrase when there's a big three made. That I heard on the road. You usually hear those at home. The other two I've heard on the road have been Steph Curry 2016 against the Thunder when he just shot it from, I believe, 37 feet. And then Luka Doncic game winner Game 4 against the Clippers in the first round of this year's playoffs, or like the three I've heard. The two I've heard other than that Kobe Bryant one in Game 5 at Boston. But we know Game 7. At the end, Ron Artest makes a deep, a clutch three over Paul Pierce to put him up by 6. Ray Allen hits a three from the corner. The Lakers go and I believe they hit another three. And then the Celtics come back and hit another three with Rasheed Wallace. So it was just back and forth threes. It was very good basketball. And that's why those three are just number 3. Now, why I have Dallas number 4 over the San Antonio, and really why those were the only ones that went 6 that were really competitive. I guess you can say 2015, but really that series was over in 5 and 6. The Warriors pretty much handled them in 4, 5, and 6. The Cavs, LeBron kept it close in 5, kept it as close as he could in 6. 4 wasn't even close at all. LeBron just was probably tired and worn out. Only scored 20 points in that game. I guess you could say last year with the Warriors, but if Game 5 was probably the best game of that series last year. Kawhi had that little flurry run. Nick Nurse made the mistake of calling a timeout when he was in the middle of just going off on everybody. Iguodala, Thompson, they switched the Cousins out on him. He had a 3 over him. He called a timeout. They ended up losing Game 5. Clay and Steph make clutch threes. And then we know, obviously, they tied to go down 3, or they're down now 3-2 in the series. Obviously, Game 6, we know what happened then. Clay gets hurt, and the Raptors win the title. But 2018 was a sweep. 2014 was a gentleman's sweep. 2014 was 2017, I meant to say, was a gentleman's sweep. 2012 was a gentleman's sweep. 2009 was a gentleman's sweep. 2008 was in 6. And I probably could have put that. And I probably put that as an honorable mention. It was the first Celtics title in 22 years. But there were blowouts. Game 1 and Game 6 were blowouts. The Lakers did blow that 24-point lead in Game 4 down 2-1 when they could have tied that series. And the Celtics came back. So I know, but I picked Dallas because, well, LeBron shrunk. He, as Skip Bayless called him, the frozen one instead of the chosen one. He choked. Dirk had that great playoff run. He had beat Portland in 6, swept the defending 2-time NBA champion Lakers, then beat the Young Thunder. That was when they were young. In 2011, they were young. Beat the Young Thunders team, had that great 48-point game, 24-24 from the free throw line in Game 1 in the Western Conference Finals, and then the comeback in Game 2, and then The great clutch shot he made in game 2 as well. The shots he was making on everybody in games 4, 5, and 6, along with Jason Terry and JJ Barea making shots, and Jason Kidd. So that's why I put Dallas the Dallas one at 4. And I said the San Antonio one, that went 7 games. It was a defensive slugfest between two of the best defensive teams. The Spurs were number 1. I believe Detroit was number 2 or 3 that year as well. But it was the Robert Horry 3 in Game 5. When the series is tied 2-2, the Game 5 winner wins 70% of the time. Excuse me, my throat's starting to get a little bit dry. But yeah, Robert Horry hit that game winning 3. The Spurs went on to win that series. Detroit didn't win Game 6. And that was Game 6 at San Antonio. And then forced the Game 7, losing Game 7 close. So those were my top 5 NBA finals since 2000. And my last segment of the day. Excuse me, let me get my notes here. It's a two-parter. My 5 best players in the world in 2020. This is when I first wrote it for last week's episode. When healthy. This was for last week. Before all of this happened, and now I changed it. It was LeBron number 1, number 2 Kevin Durant, 3 Kawhi Leonard, 4 Steph Curry, 5 James Harden. Since then, James Harden has been lost in 5. Kawhi blew a 3-1 lead. So the new list is 1 LeBron James, 2 Kevin Durant, 3 Steph Curry, 4 Kawhi Leonard, and 5 Anthony Davis. He's right now 5 right now. Now if he don't perform and the Lakers don't win the title, the best player in the world goes to Kevin Durant then. But I'm picking the Lakers to win the title. But if they win still and Anthony Davis don't perform as well as he's been performing in the playoffs, which if he don't perform that well, they're not winning the title. So he's gonna have to perform well. Anthony Davis is not gonna be 5 if he don't perform well. I'll put James Harden back in the conversation. Or maybe Giannis. But if Anthony Davis performs well the rest of the playoffs and the Lakers win the title, he's 5. And my top 10 NBA players ever. I'm going to say the names real quick, and I'll tell you why I got this list. Honorable mention, Hakeem at 11. 10, Bill Russell. 9, Kobe Bryant. 8, Shaquille O'Neal. 7, Tim Duncan. 6, Larry Bird. 5, Wilt Chamberlain. 4, Magic Johnson. 3, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. 2, Michael Jordan. 1, LeBron James. My top 3 can be swapped between Kareem, LeBron, and Jordan. They can easily be swapped. I mean, 6 titles from Kareem, 6 titles from Jordan, 5 MVPs from Jordan, 4 MVPs from LeBron, 6 MVPs from Kareem. I mean, you can just flop those guys. I mean, the all-time leading scorer, the 3rd all-time leading scorer in LeBron, the 5th all-time leading scorer in Jordan. You know, Jordan's the all-time, leader points per game, 30.1 points per game for a career. It's just all these different things. I feel like Jordan had a better career than LeBron, as in accomplishment-wise. But stats-wise and what I see from a player, LeBron James is just a better basketball player than Michael Jordan, in my opinion. Michael Jordan is 2nd. Kareem, if you want to talk about accomplishments, or Bill Russell, had a better career than Jordan. He had as many titles, not as many finals MVPs, but more regular season MVPs, more points, and all of that good stuff. I have Magic at 4, the greatest point guard ever. 5-time NBA champion, 3-time MVP. Like I said, the greatest point guard ever. Number 5, Wilt Chamberlain. This man averaged 50 points and 25 rebounds and didn't win the MVP. Then he averaged 44 and 22 and 41 and 22. Or I think it was 44 and 24 and then 41 and 22. He was a man amongst boys. Scored 100 points in 1962 against the Knicks. He scored 100 of the 162 the team scored. Just dominant. Dominant. He was dominant before Shaq was dominant. I got Larry Bird Tim Duncan, and Shaq above Kobe Bryant for this reason. Larry Bird was a late game assassin. A late game assassin. The greatest white player to ever play. Averaged 10 rebounds a game. A great passer. A crafty defender. He won 3 titles, but he won 3 straight league MVPs and was the best player. He was a better player than Magic Johnson. Magic's careers-wise, he's 4th over Larry Bird being 6th. Magic just had a better career. 2 more titles, things of that. The greatest at his position. Larry Bird's not the best at his position. He's the second best. LeBron's the greatest small forward ever. But he was an assassin. He was a crafty defender. Shaq being over Kobe, because I would start my team with Shaq over Kobe. You go start with a dominant big man, and Shaq was dominant. In those 3 finals in 2000, 2001, and 2002, he averaged 36 and 15. Straight dominant. And carried Kobe. Definitely that first one in 2000. Kobe was more of a good Robin in 2001 and 2002. But 2000, Kobe only averaged 13 points per game. He did have that big fourth quarter when Shaq fouled out in Game 4. Yes, he did. But Shaq was averaging 36 and 16. 36 and 15 or 36 and 16. Whatever it may be. It was dominant numbers. And because I have Kobe at 9, don't mean I don't think Kobe is a great player. I think Kobe is the toughest shot maker, the second greatest shooting guard of all time. He scored 81 points in the game. Come on. He outscored the Dallas Mavericks in 3 quarters by himself. 61-60, I believe. 60 points in his final game. 61 in Madison Square Garden in 2009. 5-time NBA champion. 1-time MVP. Don't say he got robbed of multiple MVPs. Steve Nash won those 2 MVPs in 2005 and 2006. And don't say 2006. He was a 7 seed, blew a 3-1 lead to those Suns. And don't say 2005 because he missed the playoffs. And don't even say 2003 because Tim Duncan won the championship that year when Tim Duncan won that MVP. He beat the Lakers in the playoffs that year. Kobe was great. I just feel like those 8 guys are just better than him. They have better careers and they have better big time performances when it mattered most in the playoffs than Kobe Bryant. You want to say LeBron choked in 2011? Kobe Bryant shot and choked in 2004. He lost by 36 points in Game 6 of the NBA Finals in 2008 against the Celtics. He lost a 24-point lead in Game 4, I talked about earlier, down 2-1 when he could have tied the series. So it's nothing like that. It's nothing to disrespect Kobe like that. And Bill Russell, 11-time champion, 8 straight, 5 MVPs. The Finals MVP is named the Bill Russell Finals MVP Award. Probably the greatest defensive player ever outside maybe Hakeem Olajuwon and Dennis Rodman. Second all-time in rebounds behind Wilt Chamberlain. He's the 10th greatest player. Hakeem Olajuwon, the most skilled big man ever. Only won 2 titles. Now, he did win it without Jordan being there, but I don't take that away from him. I sure don't take it away from him. I do not take him away from him. He's my honorable mention. And before I go, because my voice is killing me now. Should have brought some water before I recorded, but oh well. I'm going to fight through it. The LeBron Jordan thing. Me saying LeBron is better than Jordan is not disrespecting Michael Jordan at all. Michael Jordan is amazing. Michael Jordan was excellent. I just feel like LeBron is a better basketball player than Michael Jordan. I really do. I really do. The reason why I point out so much of what Jordan didn't do is because of his fans, not Jordan. Jordan fans think that Jordan only played 6 years and made every shot. Those 6 years, 91, 92, 93, 96, 97, 98, the 3 or 6 years he won the title. They don't want to mention 95 when he got beat in the second round by the Orlando Magic. They don't wanna remember those Washington Wizards days when they said, "Oh, he was great for the Wizards at 40," but they don't want to count those at 39 and 40. But they don't want to count those years. They don't want to remember when he was getting beat up and getting kicked out of the playoffs by the bad boy Pistons. Everybody's like, "Oh, LeBron wants all the help," but then when we say why, but then the same people that say LeBron needs all the help, why does he need all the help, get mad when we point out that Jordan got swept in the playoffs and one was 1-9 in the playoffs, and they be like, "Well, he didn't have any good teammates." LeBron was in Cleveland. I told you the lineup: Larry Hughes, Sasha Pavlovich, Drew Goodens, and Drulis Ilgauskas. No, I can't believe you. Like, come on now, just hold him to the same standards. Jordan needed help just as much as LeBron need help. Everybody needs help. You need star players to win championships. You do. You just do. You just do. And this notion that LeBron let other players win championships and he's the only person to do that, not true. Kobe Bryant did. After 2000, Kobe Bryant let Tim Duncan win in 2003 and 2005, and then he let D Wade and Shaq win in 2006, and then let Tim Duncan win another time in 2007. Kobe didn't even make the playoffs in 2005, a year after the Shaq got traded to the Miami Heat. He lost to Boston in 2008. What about 2011 when he got swept by that same Mavericks team that y'all said humiliated LeBron? Kobe got swept. The defending two-time champions, when they won in 2009 and 2010, got swept. Swept and blown off the floor in Game 4 in Dallas. Got 4-1. Gentlemen swept by the Thunder in 2012. I ain't going to put 2013. He didn't even get to the playoffs and was never the same after that Achilles. But I'm just saying, this notion that LeBron James was the first to do everything is not true at all. Larry Bird let Magic Johnson win 5 titles in his era. And vice versa. Magic Johnson let Larry Bird win 3 titles, let the bad boy Pistons win 2 titles and sweep him out of the playoffs in 1988. Or 89, excuse me. And then Magic lost in 91 and 5 to the Bulls. Magic got swept out the finals twice. Not just 89, but in 1983 against the Philadelphia 76ers. Julius Erving and Moses Malone. Maurice Cheeks and them boys. Tony Andrews. Andrew Tony or whatever his name is. Andrew Tony's, I think. So this notion that LeBron was the first to get swept in the finals and all that, no, it's not true. He was not the first super. Magic got swept twice in the finals, just like LeBron James did. Magic dribbled out the clock and choked in the finals, just like LeBron James did. Larry Bird had an 8-point game, an 8-point game, and a 12-point game. Sounds familiar? LeBron had an 8-point game in the finals. So this notion that LeBron James is the only person to choke in the finals, it's not true at all. Not true at all. And it needs to stop. I hope you enjoyed today's basketball episode 5 of the Pick 6 podcast. It's great being back. Again, sorry about missing last week. I don't know what I'm going to do for episode 6. I really don't. I'll just surprise you with something. But again, it was great to have you listening to me. It was great. It's great being back. I love you. I thank you for all the support, likes, views. Remember to comment, subscribe, add me on Instagram, Snap. And if you have any questions, just DM me on Instagram or Snap or whatever it may be. And y'all have a great day.